Listen to this. New York Attorney General Letitia James is now announcing a lawsuit against the Trump administration's Health and Human Services Department over proposed health care funding cuts. So let's bring in Jonathan Turley, constitutional law attorney and Fox News contributor. Jonathan, good to have you here. Of course, this comes just weeks after the DOJ announced that they are actually investigating some allegations of mortgage fraud against Letitia James. She calls that revenge, but the timing of all of this seems a little suspect.
Well, it is par for the course. You know, James has always used her office to target opponents, whether it's Trump or the NRA. She's very selective and she's very open in politicizing that office. And this is the latest of a series of lawsuits by Democratic leaders around the country. And the problem for the Trump administration is they file before favorable courts in blue states, and they're getting these national injunctions. And it's gotten to the point of being absolutely absurd. It means that a president cannot govern unless you can basically run the course with 677 district court judges, any one of which can issue a national injunction. So you've got to win every case 677 to 0 if you actually want to implement policy. Well, the justices have said, including liberal justices like Justice Kagan, that this is truly insane. And this is just the latest such lawsuit to try to limit what this president can do.
Well, let's talk about how much this could slow the administration down, because now she's calling up all of these AGs in blue states and asking them to join her on this lawsuit against HHS. I'm not sure who's going to want to jump in on that when she's under investigation herself. But how tangled up can this get for this administration when, like you said, I mean, they're literally facing injunctions and legal action, I mean, across the board?
Well, people need to think about the implications of what is happening. It means that you can be elected as a president, but effectively the presidency is going to be run at the discretion of district court judges issuing national or universal injunctions. That's not really how this is supposed to work. And the constitutional basis for these orders are extremely dubious. Some of these orders I find to be overtly unconstitutional, but they have to work their way through the system. And what these Democrats know is that in the usual course of things, they don't leave a president his third year before he can actually start to implement policy. And that's what's so insane about this. Now, on May 15th, the Supreme Court's going to look at national injunctions. And many of us are hoping that Chief Justice Roberts and the court will finally bring some semblance of order to all of this and deter these district court judges. Because we have a system that's run on people being able to vote in presidents to effectuate change, including looking for waste and in this case, downsizing government. We've got to get back to that. And so that argument on the 15th is enormously important.
Jonathan, I want to get your take on this one more thing before we go here. The Minneapolis Attorney's Office apparently wants prosecutors there to consider race as part of their thought process, decision-making when negotiating plea deals. Now, this is the Hennepin County Attorney, Mary Moriarty. As you know, she was elected after the George Floyd riots, during that progressive movement, to put in DAs and attorneys that would be a little bit more lenient. I imagine you have a lot of thoughts on this.
Well, she's ripping the blindfold off Lady Justice. And the whole idea of justice is that it is supposed to be blind. It's supposed to be based on the facts of the case. It's supposed to make victims not whole, but at least give them some vindication or some assistance for what was done to them. And this is, I think, going to really force the issue again, not just with the administration, but with the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court just said not long ago that in college admissions, when you rely on race criteria, you're engaging in racial discrimination. And that's an even greater concern when we have race criteria being used in this way in the criminal justice system.
I wonder if this came up when she decided not to go after a Walt staffer who apparently allegedly vandalized a Tesla vehicle, or at least 6 of them. So I wonder if that was part of the thought process there. Jonathan Turley, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.